Let's explore how some meditations could help heal a broken heart. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found of all places on Reddit, home of the troll. The individual wrote, "Me and my girlfriend of 3 years just broke up. I don't know what to do. I had to move out and move back home, and I'm literally sobbing while driving. My heart feels so empty. I'm devastated." So I'd like to explore this with you. Not everybody is competent to counsel, and so there are some people who may mean well. Some people may give you some dreadful advice. They might tell you to buck up. They might tell you to be a man. They might tell you to grow the fuck up. But you know what? These people are incorrect because, of course, we're starting with broad brushstrokes. Heartbreak is not an indictment. Devastation is not an indictment. Weeping is not an indictment. Let's look at heartbreak through the lens of evolution. Consider our species, if you will. We are not swift of foot or strong of arm. We compare, well, to neither antelope nor silverback gorilla. We are not sharp of claw nor long of fang. But we have two things going for us. Number one, a big old brain. And number two, we are wired to cooperate. To cooperate vocationally, recreationally, platonically, and romantically. And all things pertaining to evolution are rooted in survival. That is exactly why a breakup feels like death. A breakup or a divorce or, heaven forfend, a traumatic injury leading to death can feel like death for both parties. That's not psychological. We are wired that way. And it serves as a mechanism, albeit a cruel one, to ensure fidelity, to ensure longevity of relationship, to assure a reluctance to leave a relationship. For although we do have genes that derive promiscuity, so that, which serve our genetic need to spread our seed, to deepen the gene pool, we also have genes that drive loyalty and fidelity to protect the fruit of the gene pool. So this is hardwired into us, which is why breaking up is traumatic. Now, I want to set out some healthy expectations. Anybody who tells you there is a secret technique that will allow you to metaphorically wave your hand and you're instantly healed of all trauma, and then your fondest dreams come true in the most wonderful way. Anybody who tells you that is trying to sell you something. Beware. Charlotte and Kevin and James and Rue, oh, I rue the day, and Rue and Teddy Ruxpin. Hello, how are ya? So, anyone who tells you that there's an instant cure for heartbreak is trying to sell you something. There is a trite saying, but the fruit of a healthy meditation practice is this: that functionally, not emotionally, not what we believe, not what we affirm, but we get to a point where whatever comes, regardless of how grotesque it might be, we let it come. We get to a point where whatever stays, regardless of how excruciating it is, we let it stay. We get to a point where whatever goes, no matter how heartrending it is, we let it go. Wait, does that mean that Buddha wants us to be a doormat, a boot scrape? No. One of the fringe benefits of a healthy meditation practice is that it cultivates not a scattered spontaneity, but a deeply centered spontaneity. And when our choices, utterances, and deeds flow from this deeply centered spontaneity, our life can be very much like the real or imagined paradise, or Pure Land, or Vati, if you prefer Sanskrit, of a Buddha. Breaking up is traumatic. However, there are two methods I want to share with you tonight, two specific, trenchant things you can do tonight, not to reverse the wheels, turn back the hands of time, but to cope. To cope with what Shakespeare referred to as the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. The first of the two techniques I want to share with you is a special type of walking meditation. I think it would be remiss if I didn't use the phrase brisk. Brisk walking meditation. Let's look at it through the lens of neuroscience. We all know how to walk, how to swing our legs, how to swing our arms, usually in opposition to our legs. We swing the left leg forward while swinging the right arm forward, and vice versa. So it's very asymmetric, and that's as it ought to be. You see, the asymmetric stimulation of alternate legs and alternate arms, and because we're not robots, our gaze is all over the place because we're wired not to step in dog shit or not to step in front of a car and the like. So we have asymmetric legs, asymmetric arms, asymmetric random eye movements. All this acts to massage our hippocampus. Now that might sound a little salacious. Let me explain. What is trauma? Trauma is any event that is chronologically in the past, but experienced in the future. No, not because of psychology, not because of stinking thinking, but because it hasn't been processed by the hippocampus, which is kind of like the doorman at a dance club. I don't care how well you're dressed, you ain't getting in till you slip him a C note. Am I right? That's exactly how the hippocampus works. There are some things that's like, nope, sorry experience, we're not going to process you as something that happened in the past. Whether that past is 5 minutes ago, or 5 hours ago, or 5 days ago, or 5 weeks ago, or 5 months ago, or 5 years ago. You're going to experience it as if it's happening right now. Well, fuck you, hippocampus. So, but brisk walking with our legs out of sync with our arms, and our arms out of sync with our eye movement, that massages, metaphorically speaking, massages the region of a hippocampus, allowing it to process whatever comes up. But you might say, what do I do mentally while briskly walking? And before I answer that, quick safety note. If you are in great turmoil, do yourself a favor and limit your walking meditation to your block. Walk around your block. You don't need to get lost. You don't need to wander off. Just walk around your block briskly while doing this. Okay. Now for the actual technique. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord, which has evolved not to actively concentrate, not to mind blank, but to notice. To notice vulnerably and passively and viscerally and randomly. And this vulnerability is typified by the nudity of the archetype we see before us. Now, we all know that the idiot savant that is our brain can act like Urkel and just get in the way until we give it a job, because Urkel, if anything, has a good heart. So we give our Urkel-like brain the job of silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this during each inhalation, and all of a sudden, instead of opposing our sympathetic nervous system, our big old brain is cooperating with our sympathetic nervous system. And that's mindfulness. Yes, our brain can notice sights and sounds and sensations and flavors and scents and the like. Our brain can notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. Our mind can notice the external or the internal, the physical or the mental, the pleasurable or the painful, the interesting or the boring, the glorious or the grotesque. What do we do with all that gurk? Glad you asked. Because every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our parasympathetic nervous system ensconced within both our lower lumbar region as well as our brainstem, this grotesque creature right here. And as we do, together as a team, these wonder twins act to support our physical relaxation as well as our mental release. And then we never have to worry about what we perceived ever again? No, it's still there. With every in-breath, we'll notice it. With every out-breath, we'll process it. And that's welcome. Welcome to the three-ring shit show that is life. In the words of Rosanna Dana, there's always, if it's not one thing, it's another. Or to quote our friend Tommy Lee Jones from the movie Men in Black, way back in the 90s, it was not an intergalactic plague, then it is an interstellar death ray. There's always going to be something. But if you set aside at least 5 minutes every 12 hours or so, you will get better and better at coping with the steaming piles of monkey poop it sometimes throws at us. Now, I promised you 2 techniques, and here's a second one. When you return home from this evening's brisk walking meditation, I recommend a love meditation that is chanting oriented. And we can go through that right now if you wish. Let us bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and letting go. You see, the Buddha was keen on the 4 bases of mindfulness: the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. Ask an evolutionary biologist and they will affirm that, yes, complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Therefore, in every culture on Earth, there are similes and metaphors. We're going to play with some of those right now. Whoops, look at this. So please chant with me. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully wise as the enlightened mind of a real Lord. Imagine Buddha symbolized by a tikle, one syllable pseudo bija mantra. So these are the symbol. One of the 4 symbols I promised you. They're unimportant. They're just wonderful symbols for us to play with. So let's play with this right now. So we're going to take. Well, actually, we're just going to play with the chanting right now. So we've wished for all beings' minds. Now we're going to wish for all beings' experience of the interpersonal. May all relationships or speech of all beings now be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by the 12 syllable mantra. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay. That was a hum. It was a tune hummed by a big old homophobe that somehow got stuck in my head. Okay, here we go. May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddhist statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yidam and archetype of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. And now we come to our 4th of 4 chants. May all circumstances or lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon, as a Buddha's real or imagined Paradas Purlandarvati. I kid you not. With our words, we guide our intentions. With our intentions, we guide whatever energy we're experiencing in the moment, positive or negative, subtle or coarse. And by guiding them in the direction of the well-being of each facet of each being, it's profoundly therapeutic. I do look forward to practicing the fine details with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you wouldn't have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you and just like Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Of course, Kevin, your sticker reads, "Hey you," and now I'm hearing that song by Pink Floyd from the Wall album. Whether we call it mindfulness and whether we call it sati pasati dhyana mahumudra cham protozen mahasandhi atiyoga dzogchen or trekcho, regardless of what we call it, it is just mindfulness and meditation. Let us bring the 4 bases of mindfulness into the figurative practice of the rainbow body. Yes, those upon the path of being rigid and fearful and controlling may take a literalist approach to this practice, but we, traversing the path of being flexible, loving, and laid back, are comfortable with the idea that not all phrases are intended to be taken literally. Please chant. Oops, let me start my timer. Okay. Please chant with me. rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with the bodies of active visualization, emotion, magic, and belief. We could just recite these wise words in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for literal statements, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. Now, let us begin, together. All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this body or form. No, there's nothing to believe here. There's nothing to visualize. All we're doing is playing with these words. By the way, we're taking all these words, shrinking them down, and we're going to recite them silently and mentally and passively in harmony with our inhalation and our exhalation. Now, I don't know about you, but I sure would like to do this for 4 rounds, assuming that a round is simply one inhalation followed by one exhalation. Now, I'm going to use a technique I describe as Bengali crease counting, and I'm going to count 4 repetitions using the tip of my left thumb on my left little finger. I'm going to advance the tip of my left thumb during each inhalation. So let's silently and mentally recite and count together right now. And so as we relax into our exhalation, the visceral experience of melting feels more real. One of the funny things about this is that the verbiage harnesses our inherent self-centeredness to help us to transcend that very pride. Let us chant some more. Oopsie, got ahead of myself. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this communication or speech. Notice we're using melting as a metaphor of impermanence and change, and we are using absorption as a metaphor of interdependence. We continue chanting, counting now upon our left ring finger. Together. All interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could delightfully absorb into this mind. So right now, if you are wrestling with heartbreak, then the impermanence of a relationship can be very real, all too real to you. And the fact that we experience the interdependence, where others' words and choices and deeds affect us deeply and viscerally, is also very, very real to you. And I hope that, forgive me if this sounds sadistic, but in this, pain creates moments of hypersuggestibility. You don't have to chase pain. Life is generous. It's going to give you plenty. And when it does, when we practice, we can harness those moments of hypersuggestibility to grow to have a more visceral realization of impermanence and interdependence and even peace. Please continue counting on your left middle finger. Ah, that's right. Give heartbreak the middle finger. We come to the fourth quarter of this first opening chant. Please practice with me. All minds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light. They could delightfully absorb into a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be not graspable to the hand. Please count with me upon your left index finger. And so the void very much is metaphorical. We're not saying nothing exists. We're saying that as we relax into our exhalation, it can sometimes feel that way, if only just a little bit. And that's fine. So now we're going to play with spontaneous awareness and letting go. It is known by many names, including Sutra, Mahamudra, Mahasandhi, Trekcho, and Ati Yoga. Big deal. Just like we described during the opening lesson. During our inhalation, as we breathe in, we can kick back and watch the antics of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. And as we exhale, while silently and mentally reciting the one-syllable verb ease, we can relax into mind's non-graspable nature. Now, on the left hand, I've shown you how to count one set of 16 rounds. 16 rounds. But on the other hand, you can count sets. One set of 16 rounds, two sets of 16 rounds, and so forth. Forgive me if I sound like the Count from Sesame Street. So let's play with several sets of 16 rounds of this exercise right now. Whether we know it or not, every time we breathe in, we're wired to generate a vertical traction between our head and our tush, and every time we exhale, we're wired to release it. Having climbed to contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the toasty sands of Tatooine under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. Let us play with the Central Channel Yogas of Bliss and Letting Go. Okay, and away we go. Let us play with Amoga City's Bliss and Letting Go. Let us invoke our lower abdomen with the noun womb. And as we exhale, let us silently and mentally recite the verb ease. Let us invoke the color green. Let us invoke the wind element. Let us invoke the one-syllable mantra, or seed mantra, or bija mantra. Let's play with Ratnasambhava's joy and letting go by tuning into the area behind her navel with the noun gut. Let us tune into the color gold. Let us tune into the element, the very, very stable element of earth. Let us play with the bija trang. Let us tune into our chest. I should mention this is part of Akshobhya's great joy in letting go. The color blue. The moisture of the water element. And the bija hung. Let us play with Amitabha's very great joy and letting go as we tune into the throat. And let us open up to the color red. Let us open up to the warmth of the fire element. Let us open up to the one-syllable mantra free. We turn now to Varochana's exceedingly great joy and letting go. Let us open up to the crown at the top of our head, the crown that is the top of our head. Let us open up to the color white. Let us open up to the element of space. Let us open up to the very popular bija Om. Let's just hang out with the label Om as we breathe in whatever we experience, whether it's external or internal, physical or mental, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque. Let's just fling the label Om at it. And as we exhale, let's relax. Let's kick back. Remember, it's not our job to control the depth or shallowness or speed or slowness of our breath. Just watch it. Let us return to the spontaneous awareness and letting go, which is known by many names, such as Mahasandhi, Sutra Mahamudra, Ati Yoga, and Trekcho. Whatever we see, hear, feel, taste, smell, or the like, whatever we emote, intend, reason, recall, or imagine, we can simply label it this. Let us bring the four bases, the four bases of mindfulness into the practice of love and letting go. Oh, that's what's going on. Okay, let's fix that. Also known as Tantra Mahamudra, Mahayoga, and Jigme, Treksho, Tokal. It's the wrong word. Trekcho is slice through. Tikle is drop. Togo tree. Oh, memory, you fickle beast. Okay, let's chant. May all minds of all beings know be as peacefully wise as the enlightened mind of a real Lord. Imagine Buddhism balanced by a tikle one suitable seed or bija mantra. I don't know if you struggle with justice sensitivity the way I do, but sometimes, especially when I'm tired, when I hear of gross injustice, genocide, racism, speciesism, sexism, jingoism, fascism, homophobia, in my mind's eye, I tap into my inner Sith Lord. And I find it much more helpful at that time of intense emotion to play with these four exercises, to take that same energy and aim it at slathering, instead of slathering people with fire ants, slathering them with wisdom and love and health and good fortune. May all relationships or speech of all beings know be as joyfully loving as a real or imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by the 12 suitable mantras. So, from a certain point of view, Karma Chakme Tantra, the essence of Tantra Samaya is simply to rely upon your teacher's example, instructions, and students. Let's chant. May all bodies or forms of all beings now enjoy the beautiful self-seen in Buddhist statuary. depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined deity or Yadaman type of enlightenment such as Kuntu Zangpo. May all circumstances or lots of all beings know have the good fortune or boon. As a Buddha's real or imagined paradise per land of Vati. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel.